Hey everyone. Well, I'm back from my extended vacation. It was excellent and I really enjoyed it, but I'm trying to get back into the swing of things. So this video is going to be a little different from most of my videos. I'm just going to show something I haven't seen many recent videos on in a while. And this is an excellent way for people who want to get into Warhammer Fantasy who don't have a whole lot of money to do it at the moment. So if you go to the US Games Workshop page, I'm not sure about the foreign pages, but on the US page, go to Specialist Games and go down here to Mordheim. If you click on that, it'll bring up this page, and at the very bottom over here it says Mordheim Resources. Click on that and it'll bring you to this, Mordheim Resources. Click that and you can download the rule book and a lot of the additional rules for free. So what is Mordheim? Mordheim is a Warhammer Fantasy skirmish based game. So you start out with the warband. You can have up to 12 to 20 members depending on what type of warband you play. And you fight a skirmish battle in a ruined city that was hit by a chaos meteor. So the meteor hit the city and destroyed it, and it spread what they call weird stone, which are like warp stones, all over the city. So the warbands are fighting for these stones that they get influence and money from. So they acquire wealth this way, which allows them to better equip their henchmen and their heroes and to hire more people. So this is the first part of the rule book. It's got the fluff, tells you about the game. It's got some fluff components like this guy that constantly talks to you throughout. If you know how to play fantasy, you know how to play this. It is so much like fantasy. Characteristics, leadership test, turn phase, movement, running and charging, terrain. Now this is a very much terrain based game. You do have to have the ruined buildings, the city to fight. Diving charges, shooting, cover. You got your wound chart, your hit chart, hit modifiers, critical hits, armor save modifier, so the stronger the weapon it can actually negate armor. Injuries. Now in this, when you have wounds and you get hit, you just lose the wound, and that's the only effect. Once you're out of wounds, when you get hit, you have to roll and see if you're knocked down, stunned, or out of action. If you're knocked down, next turn you can stand back up and fight. If somebody attacks you when you're knocked down, you do have a chance to defend. If you're stunned, they can auto hit you if they're next to you. If you're taken out of action, you're out of the game, but you're not necessarily dead, and I'll cover that later. Close combat, who can fight, who can strike, hitting the enemy. There's your 2-hit chart that we're so familiar with, the wound chart. Again, the strength modifier for the armor. Armor saves. There is a parry rule, breaking from combat. You have leadership, fear, hatred, stupidity, frenzy. All those rules are in play. Your weapons goes through their benefits and disadvantages. All your standard Morning Stars, halberds, spears, swords, lances, double-handed weapons. You have Gromwell weapons and Ithamar weapons. You have Gromwell armor and Ithamar armor. So that's Dwarven make and Elven make stuff, which gives you benefits depending on whether it's armor or weapons. You have your bow type, crossbow type, slings, throwing daggers. Then you have black powder weapons, pistols, dueling pistols, blunderbusses, handguns, the Hockland long rifle. Then you have your light, heavy armor, shields, bucklers, helmets. Then you have miscellaneous equipment, poisons, and drugs that you can get and use. Lucky charms, nets, Bugman's ale, elven cloaks, halfling cookbook. You can get animals, horses and dogs, lanterns, maps. Then you have magic, prayers of Sigmar, necromancy, chaos rituals, lesser magic, and magic of the horned rat. Most warbands have some type of spellcaster. The mercenaries typically don't have one. Then you have your warbands. Now they're broke down into 2 categories. You have heroes. Most start with up to 5 heroes. You can have a total of 6. The Skaven can actually start with all 6. and then you have your henchmen groups. So your heroes are your individual named characters, whereas your henchmen are your little followers. And they can normally be bought in groups of up to 5 per group. Now when you start a war band, there's different ones. He's talking about those here. You have mercenaries. You have the Reichland mercenaries, the Mordheim mercenaries, and the Marienburg. Each has a special benefit. Reichland is more militant, so the leadership of the captain, the leader, can be used up to 12 inches instead of 6 inches radius around him, whereas and his archers, his ranged people, shoot better. They have ballistic skill 4 instead of 3. Mordheim, the heroes all start with strength 4 instead of 3. And the Marienburg start with more money, so they're the rich boys and get more equipment. Now as you level up, you gain experience, you get a characteristic increase, or you can get a special skill. And this tells you there's combat, shooting, academic, strength, and speed, and some of them have special skills. It shows you the ones that they have available to them, and you get to select that skill when you roll for a skill increase like that. So it's different for the different types. Marienburg is different from Mordheim, different from Reichland. This shows the equipment you can buy starting out. This is the starting price. Now after you start, you have to actually go to the market and pay whatever the market price is. So you have mercenary captains, up to 2 champions, up to 2 young bloods. That's your starting heroes for mercenaries. Henchmen, you have warriors, up to 7 marksmen, and up to 5 swordsmen. And then certain ones like swordsmen have a special rule, expert swordsman. Then you have Cult of the Possessed. That's your chaos. Their equipment, their skills. They have a magister up to 2 possessed, up to 2 mutants. Then henchmen, they can get up to 5 dark souls, brethren, up to 3 beastmen. Now as they level up with the skills and characteristic increases, heroes are individuals. They all get just for them. The henchmen groups all get the same increase. So if you have 3 brethren and they get a +1 weapon skill, all 3 of those have +1 weapon skill. That's not individual amongst them. Now possessed and mutants get mutations. You have to buy them like equipment. The different mutations give you different abilities or different effects. You have witch hunters. They're the one that can have a max of 12 members, where most have 15. The Skaven have 20. They hate spellcasters of all types. So they get the captain, up to 3 witch hunters, up to 1 warrior priest, up to 5 flagellants, zealots, and up to 5 warhounds. Sisters of Sigmar, they're actually the one war band that lives within the city. They have a citadel in the city. Now they have special skills, which is documented here. So you see all the ones and they have special on the end. So they get skills only they can have. And then they have a matriarch, sister superiors, augur, Sigmarite sisters, and up to 10 novices. Now they have special weapons that only they have. So that's Sigmarite Warhammer and the Steel Whip, so they can actually start off with these. They have special abilities. Undead, my personal favorite. Undeads are led by a vampire, can have a necromancer, up to 3 dregs. The thing about undeads is that the vampire dies. Normally if the general dies, whoever your leader is, the next highest leadership person takes over. Now vampires, if the vampire dies, the necromancer has to take over, and if the necromancer, you don't have one or they die, then pretty much you're starting over. Because the magic that binds the undeads will start to fall apart. So you get zombies, ghouls, and up to 5 dire wolves. Now with undeads, the dire wolves and zombies do not gain experience, so they never get any better than they are right now. That's one of their disadvantages. Skaven have all kind of special rules and special equipment. So they got blowpipes, fighting claws, weeping blades, warp block pistols, their special skills, black hunger, tail fighting, wall runner, infiltration, art of silent death. Then they start with assassin adept, up to 2 black Skaven, omniscient sorcerer, 2 night runners. Then they get verminkin, giant rats, and can have up to 1 rat ogre. And they can have a total of 20 members. And they can start with all 6 heroes. So then you got the campaign. It's meant to be a campaign game, post-battle sequence, death of a leader, buying new equipment, serious injury. So when they get taken out of battle, at the end of the battle they have to roll on this chart. So they could die, they could have a full recovery, they could have a leg wound, arm wound, different disadvantages that will negatively affect them, or they could have hardened, which makes them immune to fear, scars, which makes them cause fear. They could even get a point of experience. So it could be good, could be bad, could be neither, depending on what happens to them at the end of the battle. So earning experience, if somebody has a lot more experience and their warband's a lot more advanced than somebody that's fighting them, they have underdog rules to kind of boost the underdog up to be competitive. And when they get advancements, you roll, so you could get a characteristic increase, or you could get a new skill for your heroes. Henchmen have a different table down here, which gives you your characteristic increases. Now they can get that lad's got talent. Now what that lad's got talent is, one of your henchmen in that group actually becomes a hero, and that's how most of the warbands will get their 6th hero. You have level caps for all the different characteristics, what the different races can max out at. Once they hit that, they can go no higher. Then you have your different skills like strike to injure, combat master, quick shot, pistolier, eagle eye. These are the different things. So you got combat, shooting, academic, speed, strength. Then you got starting the game. You have all these different scenarios. So like defend the fine, it'll tell you the terrain to set up, the warbands, any special rules, ending the game, starting the game, and how they get experience. So +1 experience for everybody who survives, +1 experience for the winning leader, +1 per enemy taken out of action. And then at the end it'll give you the rules for how to find the weird stones, which is what you're fighting over. So you have all these different scenarios. And these are